42. High to left center field. Let's see if he can fit this one in. Jose Altuve, he smacked one a long way. How about this for the little guy? High drive to center field. Marisnick, long run back toward Towns Hill. Up on Towns Hill. Wow, what a play! Jake Marisnick has stolen one up on Towns Hill from Logan Morrison. An amazing play by Marisnick. With power, defense, and pitching, Houston is off to its best start since 1986. The Astros go for the sweep today. Coming up next on Root Sports. Live from Minute Maid Park in Houston, Texas, Root Sports brings you Houston Astros baseball. Today, the Astros conclude this four-game series, and they're going for a sweep of the Seattle Mariners. Good afternoon, everybody. Bill Brown, Alan Ashby, Julia Morales joining us in just a few minutes. These pins are a reminder to promote skin cancer screenings. Summer is on the way, as we know. And wear your sunblock. Well, for the Astros, they've been putting out a bright shadow right now with this 9-game winning streak, Ash. And for Astros fans, it's not so much those were the days as these are the days right now.
Yeah, there you go. That nails it. And the Astros, on the previous homestand, had lost Game 1 of 3 against the Angels, went on to win the final 2. Those turned out to be crucial as the team took some momentum on the road, had that great road trip, 8-1, and they have just turned it into quite a run now to start the year.
They have the best record in the American League, and how about the best start through 24 games? This ties the 1980 team.
That 1980 team was a very good one, too. You might recall they were eventually beaten by the Philadelphia Phillies, who won the World Series that year. So you're matching up now with some teams that historically have done very well, 79. Another team that started very well, didn't finish that way, and that's going to be crucial for the Astros. Evan Gattis has been a part of this homestand, getting the club out in front quickly. Kobe Rasmus keeps on swinging the long ball. And that's the thing about this team. They don't have a leader in the American League in home runs or somebody right there. You've got a leader in a number of categories right there in Jose Altuve, who launched a 3-run bomb yesterday, probably the crucial one. Valbuena, opposite field. He's the guy that's leading the club in home runs right now. But it's a team that is getting a lot of guys contributing. Take the defense of Jake Marisnick, and what a play it was in center field yesterday. Colin McHugh absolutely loved what he saw, as did everybody else in the ballpark. It's a team that's playing team baseball and doing a lot of things extremely well.
Coming up next, who's Jake? He's from center field, and we'll revisit the great catch with Julia coming up next.
one of my favorite days, and probably Jake Marisnick, too. He's a dog lover. Little Fudge was the name of your dog, right?
Little Fudge, yeah.
Jake Marisnick joining me now, who's been on fire. Cover your ears on a 10-game hitting streak. 455 is what he's hitting in those 10 games. And the last night had to be so much fun for this team, the offense really coming together. What does that tell you about your team when you see a game like that?
I mean, that's always a good sign. We got down there early, but you don't sense any panic. Everybody kind of stays within, and we were able to get a couple runs back early. And then, then the big bats started coming out, and it was a lot of fun.
Well, let's talk about your defense. We've known you've been able to play great defense. We haven't been able to see you climb Towels Hill yet, and we got a chance last night. In the 6th, what a great catch. Robbing Logan Morrison. Take me through that catch.
It was hit, and Logan take you back. Batting practice, we were talking about it. We haven't seen many balls hit up there, hadn't seen any catches made this year. And then that ball was hit. And when I first saw it hit, I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get there. And I looked up and I was like, this might be the one up on the hill right here. And then ended up getting to it, making the catch, and it was pretty cool.
You traveled 105 feet, and I have your route efficiency here. What do you think your route efficiency was on that catch?
I mean, it's got to be 100%. It's pretty efficient. I caught it, right?
It was close, 98.5, but great stuff from you defensively and this team, 9 straight wins. How's everyone feeling in the clubhouse today?
It's a different feeling in there. I think when I came in last year and to now, it's unbelievable the difference in the clubhouse, and I mean just the positive energy we have coming out of there.
Good stuff. All right, we'll watch Jake Marisnick today. First pitch is around the corner. Roberto Hernandez, J. Happ going at it. The Astros going for another sweep. Stay with us. First pitch is next.
This is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. We have another gorgeous day in downtown Houston, Texas, here at Minute Maid Park, and the Astros continue to win. Last night, the ball was really jumping, and we had a Minute Maid Park record 9 home runs between the two teams combined last night. Ball should be carrying well again today, although there is no breeze at the outset of this game. We take a look at the starting lineup for Lloyd McClendon and the visiting Seattle Mariners, who have lost 3 in a row, and they're 10-14. They lead off with center fielder Austin Jackson. In right field, it's Seth Smith. Robinson Cano, the second baseman, bats third. The cleanup man is DH Nelson Cruz. With Kyle Seager at third base, Logan Morrison at first, Mike Zunino the catcher, Dustin Ackley in left field, Brad Miller the shortstop. Their pitcher is J. Happ. Here is Roberto Hernandez. Jonathan Villar playing third today on the grass with Jackson and his speed. And there's strike one for Hernandez. There's VR. Marwin Gonzalez at shortstop. Hernandez pounds one in the strike zone. Brian Knight rings it up. And quickly, it's no balls, 2 strikes to Austin Jackson. Jackson has been stealing bases at a much more frequent clip lately. He's 5 for 7. A good man to keep off base. 1-2. Hernandez pitched a good game in Seattle, but lost that one 3-2, Ash, despite giving up 3 runs in 7 innings.
Historically for the Astros this year, that's actually a big game. That's the last time the Astros lost a game.
He doesn't want to break this string of 9 straight wins. Ground ball. Marwin to his right. Gonzalez over to Chris Carter. 1 out.
So we talked a little bit about Roberto Hernandez, and he's pitched well this year. He's just 1-2, but you look at the rest of the numbers to go with it. Good stuff. 3.80 ERA, 2.25 the batting average against, lifetime against the Mariners. He doesn't have a lot to show. He's just 2-5 in 9 starts, 10 games overall, but the numbers would indicate he's pitched much better than that. So he hopes to be able to get rewarded today.
Infield shifts around for Seth Smith, the right fielder today. But in the outfield, it goes the other way. Marisnik well over into left center. There's strike one on Smith, 241. 1 homer, 6 runs batted in. You look at the way the Astros place the fielders. Smith takes, and it's strike 2, and Roberto Hernandez is setting a nice pace for this game. He has 7 walks and 16 strikeouts in 23 2/3 innings.
Don't know if this is a game plan for the Seattle hitters to take pitches early, but right now it's not paying off as Hernandez gets in front.
Close one. 1-2 to Smith.
Well, that was a good effort on an 0-2.
The Mariners are next to last in runs scored in the American League with 86 in their 24 games. That's hit, and a diving try by Villar, unable to prevent a single to left field. Smith hit it sharply for a 1-out single. Infield was shifted the other way, and he did something good for the Mariners with 2 strikes in the count.
Like Hernandez may have come with the changeup. Hard to tell. Could have been the fastball away. And that pitch away to the left-hand hitter when you have a shift on, for me, fundamentally gives the hitter a little extra chance to hit one the other way.
He cashed in on it. Now he's aboard for Robinson Cano. Good Sunday afternoon with the Pooch Parade before the game today. Now fans settling in to watch Cano, a .263 hitter with 1 homer, 7 runs batted in. Cano has 5 hits in this series so far and 13 at bats with 1 RBI. There's strike 1 for Hernandez. Cano has hit him well, 11 hits and 29 at bats against the Astros right-hander. Roberto from the Dominican Republic, 34 years old. He signed initially with Cleveland in 2000 as a free agent. Spent years pitching for the Tribe. Then he was with Tampa Bay, Phillies, and the Dodgers. Fly ball softly hit Rasmus in left. 2 down. So both Smith and Cano go with the opposite field approach. And it's Nelson Cruz.
And you could see on that particular pitch to Cano, the only thing he had a possibility of doing was hitting one toward left field.
Cruz, the big bomber in the American League, is the pace setter in homers with 13 and runs batted in with 25. Also, he leads the league in total bases and in extra base hits. 347 is his batting average for Cruz. He has tied Ken Griffey Jr. for the Mariners club record for homers in the first 24 games of a season with 13. And that's ball 1 to him. He hit 2 more last night in the 2nd and 6th innings, and he also had a single in that game. Cruz hit a 9th inning homer Friday night. So 3 bombs in this series for the man who led the American League in long balls with 40 a year ago. He is 6 for 21 against Hernandez. He takes that one for ball 2, and it's 2-0 with the infield overshifted. Rich Donnelly, the third base coach, giving some signs here with Smith the runner at first. The Astros are 5-1 against Seattle this season. They are 13-5 within their American League West division. Did he take a shot toward right field on a 2-0 pitch, or was that just a late swing?
You know, it had that appearance. It looked like the only way that ball was going to come off the bat was toward right field. Tough pitch away, and it could be just kind of what's happening in the inning with everything being away on the hitters. But Nelson Cruz not only hitting for the power game, but with that batting average you pointed out.
Very tough out right now. Ground ball third. VR knocks it down, recovers, takes extra time, and still gets him. Good composure by VR, who had the time and got Cruz. No runs, a hit, and a man left. Seattle nothing. Houston coming up against former Astro J Happ. With no score in the game, and their starting lineup is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Here's a look at today with Jose Altuve starting the day with an 11-game hitting streak, leading it off, of course, at second base. Marwin Gonzalez batting second today at shortstop. It's George Springer in right field. Evan Gattis, the DH. Chris Carter at first base. Colby Rasmus in left field. Jake Marisnick in center. Jason Castro, the catcher, and Jonathan VR at third base.
And we mentioned J Happ on the mound. He was the opponent of Roberto Hernandez in that April 22nd game, the last time the Astros lost. Happ was the winner, worked it out into the 8th inning, so has had some recent success against the Astros this year. 2-1 with a 2.30. Very nice ERA.
Jose Altuve hits one foul up the right field line. There's strike one on Happ's first offering of the day.
So let's go ahead and pitch Altuve away, because he's been handling the pitch in well. And he just puts the barrel right on it, lining one down the right side.
There might not be a way to get him out right now. He's hit .451 during the last 11 games, 23 for 51. Cano at second handles it, and there's out number one for J Happ. And Jay, with that good game you talked about, Ash giving up just 2 runs in 7 1/3 innings in the 3-2 win over Hernandez in Seattle April 22nd, is now 3-0 lifetime against Houston with a 2.16 ERA for his 4 career starts.
He's an over-the-top left-hander, decent fastball, elevates it quite often in the strike zone, so you get some good swings. It's what you can do with those swings against this lefty.
Marwin Gonzalez is hitting second for only the second time this season. Cano moves up the middle. And Marwin takes a look at it. It's strike one. 267 is his current average. 1 homer, 7 runs batted in. He has 7 doubles as well. George Springer's on deck. That's a line drive over shortstop into left field for a hit in front of Dustin Ackley. And Marwin's aboard with a 1-out single for Springer.
far better than just adequate play put in by Marwin Gonzalez. Regardless of where you put him defensively, he gets it done. And with that nice, quick, short swing from either side of the plate, he'll provide you some offense. Kind of a tough pitch to handle right there, and got the job done.
George Springer looks at ball one away. Cano has been playing him up the middle throughout this series. George has hit some balls hard. Fielded by the Mariners second baseman. His average is 200. That includes 4 homers, and he's driven in a dozen.
George should be able to get great swings on this lefty.
Why do you say that?
Again, the over-the-top fastball. It's straight, true. Tends to be elevated through the strike zone a little bit above the knees. And I just feel like right-hand hitters should be able to see it extremely well. Even left-handers, because it's over the top, should see the ball well.
He looks at that one for ball 2. 2 balls and a strike. Springer is now tied for 3rd in walks in the American League. He's taken 16. He is 0 for 3 in his career against Happ. Happ has made 4 starts. They've all fallen into the quality start department. 3 balls and a strike. So the Mariners happy with what they got, no pun intended, with this 32-year-old lefty arriving in a trade for Michael Saunders last December from Toronto. Last year Jay was 11-11 for the Blue Jays with a 4.22 ERA. And he throws to first. Gonzalez 0 for 1 in base stealing. Evan Gattis is on deck. The Astros lead the American League in both homers with 37 and stolen bases with 31. So they're in the 30-30 club. Springer takes a walk, and it's 1st and 2nd and 1 out for Gattis. Evan Gattis has really been coming alive with 12 runs batted in his last 5 starts. 3 homers in his last 5 games for Gattis, a 183 hitter with 4 homers, 13 runs batted in.
You get the sense with Springer at the plate that pitchers still have a great fear factor against him, despite the fact that he's not overly hot with the bat. And now that's what you hope with the heart of this order, is that they start contributing more and more.
As a shot to left field, Evan Gattis has struck again. A 3-run homer by Gattis. He's become a home run machine. That's number 5, and it's 3-0 Houston for a streaking Astros club.
Make no mistake about why Evan Gattis was brought on board. He is a power bat, and he's starting to supply that for this club. And there you go with the heart of the order.
That's now 5 homers, 16 runs batted in for Gattis.
And there's the pitch that I talk about, elevated through the heart of the plate. I don't think that was the fastball, but Gattis saw it well and able to get the good hack on it.
Chris Carter comes up next. There's a foul ball. There's another look at it.
You can't get too many looks at a home run swing by the home club, can you?
No, sir.
Kind of that line drive home run. Once again, Gattis has hit a couple here in this series.
Carter at 152. Taking that pitch. Chris got a night off last night. He has 2 homers, 6 runs batted in. He has hit very well in his career against the Mariners. With 12 home runs against Seattle. It's 2 balls and a strike. Happ had surrendered 2 homers in 27 1/3 innings until Gattis came to the plate and delivered 1. The Astros now have out-homered their opponents this season 38-21. Carter looks at ball 3. They are leading the American League in percentage of runs scored on homers. It was 47% coming into this game.
Yeah, I've heard people through the years complain about that stat. They don't like their favorite club relying on the long ball. And I don't fail to understand the argument a little bit. I think you want to feel like you're not reliant on one thing that could break down on any given day. but it's not a bad thing. And if you can have that power on your ball club, I think any manager would take it.
Quick strike capability. Astros with 7 players with at least 10 runs batted in the first 24 coming into this one today. Good distribution. One of those is Colby Rasmus. He's driven in 10 with 5 homers. Strike to Colby with a .268 batting average for Rasmus. He came into the clubhouse wearing that navy blue Auburn shirt today with the logo. 3 for 8 with a homer in this series. He looks at a ball, and that evens the count at 1-1. Had a very good night last night. 2 doubles and a homer for Colby.
He's a good old Southern boy right there.
Grounds that one foul past the first base coach, Rich Dower, and it's 1-2 to Rasmus. Well, the production has really been distributed fairly well in recent games among several players. Although Jose Altuve came into this game the club leader in runs batted in with 19, and he's 4th in the American League as the leadoff man. 2-2, but small sample sizes can create some issues sometimes, and things are evening out a little bit more now with Gaddis rolling in recent games. Once Carter gets started, and it appeared that he was a few games ago, and then he cooled off, this could really be something.
And how impactful have the few hits that Gaddis has had been for the club? Very big. He trails only Altuve in the RBI category, and he's only 3 back there.
Astros are 4th in runs scored in the American League. The Mariners have just hit them when they are absolutely rolling over teams. Seattle opened up a 3-0 lead with 3 homers in the second last night. Houston won it 11-4. Rasmus strikes out. Julia.
Hey, Brownie, after Gaddis hit that home run, it just got me thinking about what AJ said last night about the guys in the dugout, what it's like to be in that dugout right now. And he said they come in loose, they're fun, there's some dancing, there's some trash talking, but there's a lot of encouragement. And when the Seattle Mariners put up 3 runs yesterday in the second inning, he said that somebody in the dugout said immediately, we have 24 outs left. And that's how well this team is feeling right now, and that's how well they're playing together.
Jake Marisnick, your pregame guest, lines one to left field, in for a hit. That's an 11-game hitting streak for Jake Marisnick now. He was ready and timed that first pitch. He was hitting .391 before that single.
You know, and that's a crucial hit right there, because there can be no jinx factor on Julio Morales for the pregame interview.
Okay.
And that with players, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Little thumber line drive dropping in. Jake Marisnick has been far better than I think the anticipation this year.
He is just about 1 plate appearance short of having enough to be listed as the top hitter in the American League, which he would have been with that .391 average at game time. So he should be in the league leaders by tomorrow. Jason Castro, and he looks at ball 1. Castro at .210 has 2 homers, 5 runs batted in. 3 runs home already, and now 2 ducks on the pond for the Astros catcher.
I think Happ thought that he had delivered a strike on that first pitch.
Happ started the day with that ERA of 2.30, indicating solid work every start this season. And he's gone at least 6 1/3 in all of his starts. Astros had scored 33 runs in 5 games against Seattle. And really going to the long ball. Now the catcher Zunino is going to go out and talk with Happ. But this kind of dominance speaks really well for the Astros against the Seattle club, at least in the early games, with the Mariners having been picked by many to win the American League West.
You know, Julia talking about the confidence on the Astros bench, and I'm sure it's true. I imagine it's very flip-flop feeling right now in that Seattle bench. You can talk all you want, but do you really believe that talk?
The Mariners at 10-14. They're 7 games behind the Astros. In for a strike, 1-1 to Castro. And Conger did the catching last night. He had 3 hits, including a homer. Ground ball, and there's Seager throwing to first. So the Astros explode for 3 in the first inning, and here's a crusher from Evan Gattis, number 5 of the season, to make it 3-0.
Ladies Grape Escape on May 12th at Minute Maid Park. This event features a pregame wine tasting, speaking panel, and a wine stopper giveaway to the first 500 fans. For tickets, visit Astros.com/Grape Escape or call 1-877-9-ASTROS. Roberto Hernandez getting back to work and getting that win against San Diego 5 days ago. That was his first win since August of 2014. I asked if wins, what do they mean to him? And he said, well, not much. I just want the team to win, but it did feel good to finally put a crooked number in that win slot for him. So, and also, guys, he's feeling really good about his changeup in that last. Remember how good that was?
It was good. And his ERA is 3.80. And now it's Seager leading it off here in the second. Kyle at 244 has 2 homers, 12 runs batted in, with the Astros up 3-0. That's strike 1.
There would seem to be a group effort right now to take some pitches early on. You thwart that entirely as a pitcher if you pump strikes early and then pump tougher strikes.
1 ball, 1 strike. Hernandez was 8-11 last year with the Phillies and Dodgers. That one smoked up the middle and stabbed by Marwin Gonzalez, coming back to his right out of the shift.
Ball might have been hit a little off the end of the bat. Slowed it down a bit and gave Marwin a chance to cross over.
That little guy liked it.
Gotta love some good defense, right?
He did. Well done by Marwin. Now it's Morrison. Logan with a 214 average has 3 homers, 6 runs batted in. He was the guy who was robbed by Jake Marisnick in center field last night on a ball that was measured to be a 428-footer. And this was kind of staggering. Looking at the home run distances last night after the game on the stat sheet, Ash, there were 9 home runs hit in the game total by both teams. None as far as Morrison's ball that was caught by Marisnick, according to the official distances given out after the game last night.
There's a dispute in by Nelson Cruz, and I think he might win that dispute when it's all said and done. But what a play by Jake it was in center, wearing his khakis. Really fine play.
Boy. The fly ball heads for George Springer's territory. 2 down. And it's Mike Zunino coming up. Well, we would debate that distance sheet a little bit because
you're going to side with Nelson Cruz.
Well, Nelson Cruz hit his second home run out of the ballpark over the railroad tracks in left field. But the official distance was not as far as 428 feet. Mike Zunino at 136 with 3 homers has driven in 4. 2 for 8 in this series with a homer off Colin McHugh in last night's game. The Mariners came out firing last night. They hit 3 solo shots off McHugh in the second inning, added a 4th home run off him in the 6th, and yet he only gave up solo homers, 4 runs allowed in 7 innings. 1 ball, 1 strike. The ball really jumping last night, and there's no reason to think it won't be jumping today. Mr. Gaddis got the first jumper. That's a strike on appeal to Vic Carapazza, and it's 1-2 on Zunino. It's been quite a ride for this Astros team with the 9 wins in a row, longest winning streak since '06. 2-2. The last time they had a winning streak of 10 games or more was '04. They wound up winning 12 in a row down the stretch to reach the wild card playoff spot that year.
I think the first couple of innings have actually been made easy for Hernandez because he is throwing strikes. He's just pumping fastballs in there. Mariner hitters taking them and falling behind in the count.
The Mariners are second to the Astros in home runs in the American League. They have hit 31. And yet, next to last in runs scored. They are dead last in on-base average. Right there to Marwin Gonzalez. To Carter for out number 3. 3-0 Houston after 1.5.
Interstate rivals, the Rangers. That's in a 3-game series starting tomorrow and continuing through Wednesday. Wednesday's also Dollar Hot Dog Wednesday at the Minute Maid Ballpark. That's $1 for tickets. Call 1-877-9-ASTROS or visit astros.com.
3-0 the Astros lead it. Jonathan Villar, who turned 24 yesterday, takes a strike. Villar at third base today at 182 is looking for his first run batted in of the season. Luis Valbuena resting today with the lefty Happ on the mound. He missed the bunt try, and it's no balls, 2 strikes to Villar. With only 3 bench players, that's a challenge for A.J. Hinch, with the extra pitcher having been called up, Kevin Chapman, to give him a 13th pitcher on the roster. VR is down on strikes. 2 of those for Happ. So he's juggling his players in and out, but resting them is also a part of the plan, with Carter having gotten a rest last night. VR starting at third today. Valbuena getting a rest.
Keep those Astros fans coming.
Altuve grounded to second earlier. Fouls this one back. There's strike one. The conversation with the media and A.J. Hinch today turned to Altuve for a few moments. And somebody asked about the fact that he is, well, one of the RBI leaders in the American League with 19. What's going on with Altuve? He said, I think he's being a little more opportunistic when the situation calls for him to do some damage.
Calling on a bigger swing, maybe trying to juice the ball, and he's done that quite a bit.
Yeah. Fouls that one, 1 and 2.
Well, when you watch his typical at bat, he'll get 1, 2, 3 really good swings. He's not getting cheated. He can, as he did a couple of nights ago, with a shift on against him, shoot one through the right side, for example. He can flare one down the right field line or rake one down the left field. He's just all over the place, and I don't know how you pitch or play defense against him.
That one goes foul.
Make a really tough pitch like that, and he gets a piece and fouls it off.
It's interesting to look at the Seattle outfielders right now. Austin Jackson well over in right center. There's tons of room in left center for Altuve,
which he can easily hit to.
Cano comes in. 2 outs.
But it might speak to the way the Mariners are attempting to pitch him this afternoon. Let's go ahead and push our outfield toward right center, toward right field a little bit, pitch him away, and see if we can force him to hit into the defense.
Marwin Gonzalez will bat. 2 outs, nobody on. He got the 3-run rally started in the first with a single. Marwin hit .277 last year. Now he's going to be called on to play a lot more than was in the original plan when Jed Lowry was signed as a free agent to play shortstop. Jed really having a solid month of April, and unfortunately now it appears that he will miss a couple of months after surgery on his right thumb. But Lowry was hitting .300. He had 4 homers, 10 runs batted in, making the plays at shortstop. Marwin takes ball 1. So many thought that would be a tremendous loss for the Astros. Marwin trying to prove not so much as many people thought. Fly ball out to right center field. On the run, Smith. Smith has it. It's a 1-2-3 second for Happ. 3-0 Houston after 2.
Roberto Hernandez. Now let's see what we can find out about him. Favorite player growing up, Pedro Martinez. That's pretty likely. Favorite movie, Major League, and favorite sport other than baseball would be fishing. Is that really a sport? I guess so.
It's a sport, Ash.
Yeah, okay.
You need to try it.
Get used to it.
Get out there tomorrow if you can. Dustin Ackley leads it off. Strike one to a 190 hitting Ackley with 3 homers, 3 runs batted in. Just think how peaceful it would be for you to be floating on the water.
Can you have a bad day fishing?
Nope.
Can you be defeated? Do the fish actually conspire against you?
That does happen, yes. In fact, they've been talking about you this weekend. 1 ball, 1 strike. Foul ball back. Hernandez, pretty simple in terms of what he throws. It's primarily fastball, changeup.
Change speeds, do it with the same delivery, and find some good locations mixed in. You can have success.
That pitch with movement running away from Ackley, and it's a 2-ball, 2-strike count. Phil Boudreau passed along a note that those fish have been going to school on you.
So now we're going that direction.
Yes, we are. Line shot left field. Colby Rasmus over his head. It bounces off the wall over him. Picked up by Marisnick. That's an opposite field double by Ackley, who hit it very well. Second double of the year for Ackley.
I think Colby thought initially that he might get to this baseball. He got there, but the ball didn't come down. Good carry on it as Ackley maybe hit a little backspin job. Down through the baseball. You spin it, it hangs up like a tennis ball. Or that Titleist that you want to take a little spin off of because you don't want it to just keep rising. This one keeps rising with the seams. They need to work on that. MLB does.
Brad Miller's the batter. Hitless in this series, 0 for 8. There's a strike to Miller. 250 is his current average. He has a homer and 7 runs batted in for Brad. From Billy Spires School, Clemson University. Late swing there, 0-2. Billy was a good one for the Astros.
What a player. You know, and he was kind of that bench player deluxe that turned into, well, you're too good. We can't keep you on the bench. Get out there and play.
Right. Boy, was he helpful on this really good Astros clubs with Biggio and Bagwell and Berkman and all those guys. Sean Berry. Line shot up the right field line. Fair ball. That'll get a run home. It kicks deep into the corner. Might be a triple here. Miller stretching it out. Springer gets it back into Altuve. And it's 3-1 on the RBI triple by Miller. 2 well hit balls by Ackley and Miller have Seattle in business.
Talk about getting lulled into one. If you had watched Miller on the previous pitch in that way late swing that he took, you'd think there's no way he can get to a fastball in. And then he turns it right around. I think that was a setup job.
He was baiting Roberto Hernandez.
There you go. Same theme. You're going to stay on it, huh?
We're on that fishing theme today. Now Austin Jackson grabbing the shortstop. Comes up with a runner at third. And nobody out. VR in tight at third base. This one will roll, and the runner's holding. Here's Carter tossing. Roberto Hernandez gets there. And it's a well-executed out, number 1. Jackson just didn't move. He didn't know for sure if that ball would clear the pitcher or not. Didn't want to get thrown out at the plate, or Miller, rather, at third base.
Yeah, I think Lloyd McClendon, the skipper of Seattle, has some other comments right about now.
Well, Jackson's hurting at first.
Lloyd's going to come out and make an argument down at first base on what was a close play. A little late break by Hernandez. But I think if Lloyd McClendon could have his genuine say right here, he'd go out and ask Brad Miller, what are you doing?
Yeah, Miller took a step or two toward the plate, but then chose not to break. Meanwhile, Jackson with that little run together with Hernandez at first base. Looks like he turned his right ankle on the side of the bag, Ash.
He also might have gotten a piece of the foot of Roberto Hernandez, who you could see that stride coming to the bag while looking back to catch the baseball. That foot landed on the middle, maybe even beyond the middle of the bag, and slid toward the outside. And that's where Jackson was gunning for. And that's a tough spot.
He is really hurting right now.
It's a guy that's been playing well, too, on a team that is struggling.
Well, Justin Ruggiano is probably getting ready to go into this game for Jackson right now.
I didn't realize initially Jackson was hurt as much as he appears to be.
Well, you know, with Hernandez getting over, and it was a bang-bang play, he was arriving at the bag right about the time Carter's toss was there. He couldn't put his right foot down on the inside of the base. He was just trying to get there as fast as he could, and that blocked off the base runner Jackson from getting there, so that forced him over the outside of the bag, and he stepped on the side of his foot. Now the shift is on for Smith.
And for those of us slow learners, you see that foot of Hernandez sliding to the outside, and that's exactly where Jackson landed. And it's the formula for somebody getting hurt.
It's not a whole lot the base runner can do except run over the pitcher. But the form chart would call for the pitcher to be on the inside of the bag, and yet the timing of that play did not allow for that.
And again, when as a pitcher you're running to the bag, trying to land a foot on it while looking back in the other direction, trying to get the baseball, it's tough.
Not that easy. In for a strike, 2-1 to Smith. Cano on deck.
It's like when you're fishing and you're trying to cast out while looking for a drink from the cooler in another direction, and all of it coming together. It's just tough to get it done right.
It is. A lot of coordination required there. 2 balls, 2 strikes. A little breeze is coming through. Now that has just arrived since the first inning. Flags were pretty limp out in center field. Now they've reflected that breeze is blowing out to left, and that was the pattern last night and is the pattern for about 90% plus of all the outdoor games in this ballpark. Fly ball out to Springer. Runner tagging at third. Springer in for the catch. Here's Miller coming home. And the throw. And Castro. Safe is the call by Brian Knight. Nice work by Springer. But Miller scores on a sac fly to make it 3-2.
That was a great job by Springer. He's already gotten a little congratulations on the effort from Jake Marisnick. But I think the call, just at first glance, I think the call may be right. I think as Castro tried to lay the tag down, ooh, that's close. That is very close. I don't know that we can determine. Let's see on this one, because you're not going to be able to tell when the glove hits body. If you're a kid and you're learning to do the base running, get your lead foot, that leg straight and the foot down as quickly as possible. I think the safe call is a correct one.
Being challenged by A.J. Hinch.
I think it's a worthwhile challenge, but I think in the end it may be fruitless. There's a lot of people here at Minute Maid Park who firmly disagree with my comment. See how that lead foot came up for Miller? I mean, I think it's crucial you get that leg straight and the foot down to the bag or plate. And I think right here what it's going to come down to is, did he get the foot down on the plate or was it airborne?
Exactly. Because if he had stabbed that plate with a foot, he would have been safe easily. That's the real question.
And, you know, on full speed, oh boy.
He may not have gotten it, Ash.
That's going to be really tricky. In New York, do they say, well, the foot got there first, and it did? Or do they say, that foot went airborne, and you got to stick your landings?
Well, one thing they'll do, of course, is talk with Brian Knight about what he saw And he was in great position to make that call, looking right in. And he has a better view than can be provided really from the cameras. He's looking right at it.
See how the foot gets there first, and it may have picked the first portion of the plate. The timing of the play was safe, and that's what I saw initially, full speed. And I think that's what Brian Knight probably saw.
There would have to be compelling physical evidence there to overrule what he called.
But you know what, Brownie? Back to George Springer. That was textbook perfection, and the guy has a very good strong arm. Got the throw down, relied on the one hop to Castro, and then let him try to make the play. I think in a couple of years ago, a catcher setting up in the line would have had a great chance to block off the runner, and things would have been different. I'm not a proponent of the current ruling. If it keeps guys from getting hurt, great. But it really does change that play.
Still talking things over on this replay review.
But they're talking about, did the foot stay down long enough to catch the plate?
Seems to be the whole issue, doesn't it?
Yeah, you can see there's a gap. There is air between foot and plate.
Out. It's been overturned, and the call is out at home. So A.J. Hinch wins the challenge, and that run is taken off the board. 3-1 Houston. That's the final out. It goes from 9-2. First outfield assist for George Springer. It's a big one. We go to the bottom of the third. Castro did make the tag for out number 3. We go to the bottom of the third inning, and now it's time for the TXU Power Player of the game. Evan Gattis has been a living, breathing example of power play here in the series. Third home run and a 3-run job back in the first inning to get that early lead for the ball club. It means so much. Evan Gattis living up to the billing. Go. Where would you like me to put it for you, sir? Put it right here. Lloyd McClendon was talking with the umpiring crew after that call was overturned. Here's George Springer now. And it's strike one to Springer. He walked and rode home on the Gattis 3-run homer we just saw. There's Justin Ruggiano. He's taken over in center field for the injured Austin Jackson. Ground ball hit. Springer's going to try to stretch it. Seth Smith with the throw. It's high, and he's safe. The throw's backed up by Seager. And George Springer has not been able to find any hits up the middle. He takes this one inside the first base line for a double.
Dead on. And wow, if you like speed, watch this. Springer between first and second. He's flying right now, but he's got another gear. Look as he gets. Oh, that's too bad. Very beautiful hitting by George, and I think he needs to listen to Bronny. There, you could see when he shifted into that higher gear. And I mean, he had it going to second base.
And head first with double number 6 of the season for Springer. And it's Gaddis. 4 hits for the Astros. The Mariners have 3. Gaddis ripped that 3-run homer.
There might be a lot to be learned on that particular hit.
Here's the throw to third by Morrison. Seager back to second. Springer is out. 3-5-4 play for out number 1 with Gaddis reaching.
I'm going to react on this play a little bit. For me, George Springer was correct in his assessment to head toward third base. You're at second, ground ball to the right side, you're going. So that initial reaction, you can't reverse it the first step or two. He did all he could to try to get back. That's just really a great defensive play.
And the tag by Cano on him. Chris Carter walked in the first inning. Gaddis now at first base. Foul ball, strike 1. McClendon was talking for a while with that umpiring crew after the call at home was overturned on the replay review. So manager A.J. Hinch wins his challenge, and he's winning everything.
When you hot, you hot,
Yeah.
and that's really where it is right now.
One and one.
I think it's fair to say that a number of us up here and maybe around the ballpark are surprised at that overturn on the call. But it must have been determined that the foot went airborne and did not touch home plate.
Must have been it. Fly ball left field. Carter joins in the fun, and that one gets out. 2-run homer for Carter. Number 3 of the season, and it bombs away. 5-1 Houston. That's 8 runs batted in for Chris Carter. Let the good times roll.
You know, a home run and 2 runs always good for your club, but when it comes off the bat of Chris Carter right about now, maybe means more than those 2 runs on the board. This is a guy that is needed in the heart of this order.
Now it's Colby Rasmus. He struck out earlier. Strike 1 to Rasmus. This is absolutely an amazing run this club is putting together. Whatever it takes. 5 homers last night. 2 more in the early going today. 1 ball, 1 strike. One and 2. The Astros now with 39 long balls, and they've allowed 21. That's a big differential in homers hit and homers allowed.
You're almost going 2-1 right there.
2 balls, 2 strikes.
Maybe a little early in the season, but it's starting to feel like time to start dreaming.
It's been fun to watch, hasn't it? The Astros have hit 14 home runs against Seattle pitching. This is the 7th game. Rasmus down on strikes again. Number 3 for Happ. And Jake Marisnick will bat. He singled to left field in the first inning on a dog day afternoon. Bouncer to Happ. And on over to Morrison. The Astros get another one from Carter. It was Gaddis in the first for 3 runs. It's Carter in the third for 2 runs. It's 5-1. All the runs on long balls for Houston today.
And show us where you root for the Astros and win great prizes from the Astros and Root Sports. Post your pictures with Orbit on social media and tag the Astros in your cable or satellite provider and use the hashtag #WhereIsOrbit. Head to astros.com/whereIsOrbit for more info. Guys, I don't know if you saw Orbit earlier, but he's not popular with the dogs.
No? What's going on there?
They were all scared of him. It's kind of sad. Well, everybody loves Orbit.
Yeah, it takes a little acclimation process probably for them. Anything strange can scare a dog for a while. Strike one.
People give off an aura. I think dogs can read them, what they're all about, and we might need to check into that.
It wasn't the fact that he's fuzzy and green and twice as big as everyone else.
I think that's all secondary, actually.
Okay.
They might be worried about popularity, that Orbit is more popular than they are.
Oh, jealous dogs. We've got a story.
1-1 to Cano. Fly ball out to center field. Marisnick is going for it. Marisnick catches it easily. That's what it looks like he's going to have to dive for it, and then he just cruises on over and makes it look easy.
That's exactly what I thought. Watch Marisnick start to his left on this ball. He goes down like it's dive time right there. And then he realizes, no, I've got more speed than even I knew, and I get to the baseball. I loved his comments on last night's ball up on Taos Hill, where he thought initially, I may not be able to get to this ball, but then he got there. And just so graceful.
Gold Glover.
Give it time, but that's starting to come up out of the ground looking that way.
Nelson Cruz looks at that pitch. It's ball 1. Great to see former President George Bush and Barbara here today.
I wonder if they like defense.
Oh, gosh. Gotta be enjoying this.
Power and defense.
Yeah.
Now they're just hungry.
It's part of the ballpark experience. Out to right field. That's in for a hit for Cruz. And the Astros will take that the way he's been swinging the bat. A 1-out single for Cruz.
And let's not overlook that throw from George Springer that creates the double play on the reversal at home plate. What a play that was. That's an outfield that can really go. You put this trio together, and I don't know, everybody's going to have their opinion about who has the best, toughest outfield. This is a mighty good one. Three center fielders for you.
Yeah, they are. They're all legitimate center fielders. Seager lined out to Marwin Gonzalez, who again is on the first base side of second. And he came back to his right to stab that liner by Seager. That's ball one. How many outs have we seen in this series on balls hit hard up the middle? But there's somebody overshifted waiting there to play the ball.
There have been a bunch. And you were kind of joking about it earlier. George Springer feels like he's hit a few himself. But you know, there have been some other balls that have gotten through because of shifts. I do think there's a balance, but I think that certain hitters really set themselves up in not changing anything and just hitting right into shifts.
It's rolled out toward Altuve. Quick flip, Marwin up and over. That's well done. That is really a nice double play. Altuve gave him that backhanded hard flip to get it to him quicker, and then up and over. And here's a look at it. Brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. And by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit us at geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. Well, the Dogs are here, and they have their special afternoon. Astros fans enjoying a 5-1 ball game. And the Dogs have joined some of them along the way. It's a shaggy one.
What do you mean there's a ball game going on?
Who cares?
Let me down on that field.
Lovable creature. 5-1 Astros as Castro leads it off. There's ball one to Jason. Jason grounded out to third in the first inning. Happ delivers, and it's 2 balls, no strikes. The Astros traded with the Phillies to get J. Happ. That was the Roy Oswalt deal. That was in July of 2010 when the whole rebuild process began. 2 balls and a strike, and he was flipped on to Toronto in July of 2012 along with Brandon Lyon, David Carpenter, and a package of players, including Asher Wojciechowski, who's been here this year. Joe Musgrove, who's pitching well at A ball this year. Castro swings and misses there. It's 2 balls, 2 strikes. So this whole process has taken a while. Get younger players in the organization. Happ is now 32, meanwhile. Has a major league record of 53 and 54 with a 4.18 ERA. Ground ball fair up the line. Castro will take a turn at first base. Going after it, Smith. And he's in with a stand-up double. That throw was right on the money, but he had arrived there with double number 3.
And he does it on the breaking ball from the left-hander. Always one of those good signs to look for when a left-hand hitter can stay in and handle the breaking ball. But extra base hits continue to be a big theme for the Astros.
Well, that was the theme again last night. Not only did they have 5 homers, but they had 4 doubles for a total of 9 extra base hits. And now they've come back with 4 more in the early going. 2 homers, 2 doubles. With VR batting, he struck out earlier. And it's ball 1. The main task here for VR is to get Castro to third. Looking for more with a 4-run lead. But sometimes the team with the 4-run lead will then play for 1 run.
Just keep tacking on. Keep putting the heat on the other club.
Foul back, 1-1.
Well, you know, it doesn't feel like long ago, and I guess this early in the season it wasn't, but the Astros, through about 10 games-ish, were averaging under 2 runs a ball game. And right now they're getting right near that 5 runs a game mark, and they're hanging out with the big boys.
What's been responsible for the change?
Well, I think timeliness with the long balls, the extra base hits we were just talking about. The speed game has factored in. No question about it. Jose Altuve is such a big part. And again, 19 RBIs with everything else that he's done. But you're seeing Evan Gattis now start to hit the long ball, and Chris Carter today. And it's been spread out so well through the lineup.
2-2. A lot of hitters who were cold at the same time are now hot at the same time.
And that is part of the makeup of a hot streak for a club. I would say that not every club around Major League Baseball has the ability to win 9 or more in a row like the Astros right now. I think they're starting to become a club that has developed talent and confidence enough that they can do what they're doing at the moment.
3-2. We got the announcement on Austin Jackson leaving the game. It's because of a sprained right ankle. Also getting more information about that replay review, which was overturned at home plate on A.J. Hinch's challenge. The runner's foot was above home plate at the time of the tag and had not yet touched home plate. So the call was overturned. In the air, and Cano takes care of out number 1.
Well, again, it has to be definitive, and somebody determined that absolutely that foot never hit the front edge of the plate.
Ash, we're getting a lot of questions now that the Astros are 17-7, and we are asking the same questions ourselves. Is this sustainable?
Well, at this pace of play, I don't think is. But look, they're 10 games over 500 to start the day. Where do they have to be by season's end to make the postseason? I think that is sustainable for this team to play that level of baseball to get into the postseason. Time obviously will be the teller of that tale, but I think the talent, minus barring injuries, is good enough to make this happen.
Another intentional walk come Altuve's way, and he got one in the 5th last night. So this is a trend now developing with Altuve getting this sign of respect by the opposing manager, and once again he's put on for the 4th time this year intentionally. There you have the 6-game lead, and everybody else in the division under 500. The Angels, losing last night, have gone to 11-13, and the Astros will be playing the Angels next weekend in Anaheim.
So let's talk through this a little bit. If the Astros were, starting with today's game, to play 500 the rest of the year, they would win 86 games. How many games won does it take to get into the postseason? 90-ish, maybe? Sometimes less, sometimes more.
Less for that second wild card.
Yeah. So, you know, you can do your own deciphering at that point.
Gonzalez into right field. Castro's being sent home by Gary Pettis. Here's a throw from Smith. Not in time. Throw to third. In time to get Altuve. It's 6-1 on the RBI single by Gonzalez. Altuve gunned down at third.
I don't think Jose thought he was out, and I'm not so sure that A.J. Hinch feels that that call was correct. But how about the job by Marwin shooting one through the gap on the right side? They are going to challenge that one, I do believe.
Yes, they are. A.J. Hinch won his last challenge, giving him another one.
That's a little slice and dice job right there, just slashing right down through the baseball. I really like that Altuve took off toward third base. Does that tag get down quickly enough? I don't know.
Ron Culpa is the umpire at third who made that out call. Altuve made the safe call.
I didn't think that was the fastest tag I've ever seen. I would say Altuve's got a good argument. I think Altuve beats the play. My call.
We'll find out soon.
But I love the Marwin Gonzalez portion of that program. Really nice hitting. Alert base running by Altuve for me. And I wouldn't have even been upset at Marwin seeing that throw leave the hand of the outfielder and initially bolting towards second base.
Larry Vanover on the left is the crew chief. Here's another look at the play by Ron Culpa with that call.
Foot on the bag, and to me, that's worth a change.
Well, with the role A.J. Hinch is on right now, don't be surprised if this one is overturned as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been surprised at all had the play at the plate with the Springer throw have not been turned around, but this one should be. So get ready for the save call.
This is amazing.
You know what? I think they're doing a much better job today from New York on the determinations on the plays than they did to begin with. I thought there were some just false efforts last year, the first month of the season, but I think they're doing a genuine let's get it right effort, and I applaud Major League Baseball for that.
Well, it seems to be a pretty important call, even though it's a 5-run differential right now in the score, 6-1. But in terms of the Astros playing add-on and trying to put this game out of reach early, and the out call is held. Wow, at third.
So, in the end, my analysis was right. Let's get ready for the out call. That one should have been turned around for me. And it would have been a big play. The Astros having a man on third base and less than 2 outs, trying to add more runs. Wow, I don't see that at all. Sorry, umpires. Just completely disagree on that call.
Gonzalez picked up his second hit on his 8th RBI of the season to make it 6-1. Now it's Springer batting. He has a walk and a double. And the throw goes over to first. So a delay for Jay Happ. And now he's back to pitching, having allowed 7 hits and 6 runs. He has walked 3, one of those intentional. Gaddis on deck. Springer takes it. It's a strike for George.
But you asked the question, why are the Astros so successful right now? And I think you can secondarily take a look at the Marwin Gonzalez and Jake Marisnick and Colby Rasmus type players on this ball club, and you could do the same thing on the pitching staff and say there are some really good reasons why they've been successful.
Two and one. 9 wins in a row. They've outscored their opponents 74-32, including today, making that the 10th straight game, and out-homered them 20-9. There's a line shot, and this one involves bad luck for Springer. Lines out to Morrison. He's good for a second straight hit up the right field line. It's 1 run, 2 hits, and a man left for the Astros, and after 4, they lead it 6-1.
The Geico quote as we hear from Seattle first baseman Logan Morrison, or Lomo. He says, he came to my wedding and I played for him for a year, or played with him for a year with the Marlins. So now he's off the Christmas card list. Of course, he's talking about Jake Marisnick and that tremendous play in center field, robbing Morrison last night.
Morrison leads it off in the 5th. 6-1 Astros. Morrison takes, and it's strike 1. Well, they were together in the Marlins organization. Good friends.
They're done with that friends thing now.
Yeah, they are. We have seen fabulous catches this year. George Springer's play in Texas. Only one last night. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Well, that one by Springer in Texas was a game changer. It's not often that people talk about how a defensive play saved and eventually won a ball game, but that one did.
Clearly. It would have been a game-winning grand slam in the 10th inning. 2 balls and a strike.
Instead, it was a footnote to a couple of club seasons.
Hernandez falls behind 3-1. We come back to that discussion we were trying to get into before the last review about things being sustainable for the Astros, and people now trying to figure out, okay, 17-7, they're doing their projections, but is it sustainable? What does it take to get the Astros into the playoffs with a good record like this start?
You know, a lot of that can depend on the teams you're going to play. And the Astros have seen their way through the American League West at this point, and I think they can stack up quite well with these clubs in the West. A lot to be determined with some of the other teams and how good and tough they wind up being. But I think the Astros' focus is going to be on themselves. Let's continue to play this type of baseball. And if A.J. Hinch wins out with that mentality that he has down in the dugout and clubhouse, I think the chances are pretty good right now.
Mike Zunino's the batter. He grounded out earlier. Strike 1 for Hernandez. Commissioner Rob Manfred is committed to continuing the work of his predecessor, Bud Selig, and spreading the message about skin cancer prevention and detection. Bud Selig is a melanoma survivor. In for a strike, 0-2, and this Play Sun Smart program is a 16-year partnership between Major League Baseball and the American Academy of Dermatology. It shares important tips for fans as they enjoy baseball at the ballparks, and also while they play baseball or go outside, including applying sunscreen and wearing a hat and sunglasses. whenever they are out there. Julia is a big part of this program today. She was in the sun. She got out of it for a little while.
You know what I would also recommend? I don't know if you're playing the same game I am now, but make that regular appointment with your dermatologist.
Oh, yes.
Get your checkup.
It's a must. Back when we were kids, there were no such initiatives.
No. Very different, and we're very fortunate in that regard. Things can be taken care of quite handily now, but don't let it go too far. You ever seen the way Julia gets pampered around this place?
Well,
it's actually embarrassing at times.
We saw her entire crew on the field before the game, if that's what you mean.
Her crew, entourage is what you mean.
Yeah. Altuve near second.
We've got video evidence of the way Julia gets treated.
Oh, no, you don't.
We caught you.
Whether it's to or from the bus or the plane, this stuff goes on all the time.
Wait a minute. No one's supposed to see this.
Well, we fibbed a little bit. And
they actually carried me in on that stool.
Were there grapes and palm leaves?
Yes, of course.
The Queen of Egypt arrives at Minute Maid Park. Dustin Ackley doubled and scored back in the third.
Riding the camels is what she does best, actually, and we don't even have video of that right now.
No. Not likely to get it either unless we pay dearly. Right.
Well, we did get some audio.
This is dog day, not camel day. But as a matter of fact, on July 31st, we're going to have camel day at the ballpark. 1-1.
Clean them up and get them out to the yard.
You ever ridden a camel, Ash?
No, that I have not. I've heard that dog growl plenty, but not sure if camels were in my yard at the time.
I have a question for Julia, actually, now that she's out of the sun. 2 balls and a strike. We get her mic on. All right, this is your 3rd year doing Astros baseball. We never get to talk to you like this, in the same room like this.
I know. I am in the booth right now.
It's kind of fun.
It's nice up here.
3rd year.
Shady.
So, yeah, so compare your 1st year with this year.
Oh, wow. I've come a long way.
Yeah, and just the whole environment around the clubhouse and the players and what's going on. How would you compare that?
Well, the tough part about this job is going through the grind with you guys. It's the games every day, and I knew that coming in. Am I on camera right now? Of course I am. But I knew that coming in. I just didn't realize how much of a grind it really would be. And working every day. We do put a lot of work into these broadcasts every day. I don't know if people realize that we don't show up just for first pitch. And I've really enjoyed that. Once I got used to it, learned how to pack.
Yeah.
And got used to the guys and working with the manager. And we've had some good times.
May I say of Julia, she is the most undiva-like diva I have ever run into.
Thank you. I take a lot of pride in being undiva-like.
He does put in more work than your average anybody.
Runner going in the air, and Jonathan Villar is out in shallow left field underneath it. And now moves over a little bit for out number 2. Well, what would you say your average day is like, Julia? Let's say you have a 7:05 game tomorrow night. What time do you come in?
Well, we get started about 2, and you start thinking about the next game way in advance, even the night before, and we start planning on what we'll talk about that day. But I've got pregame responsibilities, and then we go down to the clubhouse about 3:15 for some availability. We talk to the manager every day, and do that meet and I eat.
You have
Why
to
do we
eat.
have to show this?
Yeah.
But yeah, and then we prepare for the broadcast. So, and then it starts all back up again the next day.
How many miles have you run since that shot we just saw?
Quite a few to work off that 2-foot long hot dog. Whew.
Ball one to Miller. Miller tripled in a run in the third. Yeah, and then the travel. You know, you're getting in at strange hours of the night. That's all a part of it. But everything seems to go so much smoother when the team is playing well,
I was going to say that. It's all easier.
You bet it is.
Everyone's happier. No, it's been a fun ride this past couple of weeks, really.
2 balls, no strikes. And then as the characters in the clubhouse change, the kind of the personality of the whole team changes. But there's Julia, constant throughout it all, eating that dog.
It's the highlight of my career right there.
Is that from what, 2 years ago?
2 years ago.
The boomstick.
Named after Nelson Cruz.
Nelson Cruz, who has certainly brought out the boomstick in this series. 2 balls and a strike.
No chili at all on his current boomstick, though.
But solo home runs, do they beat you, Ash?
Well, they can, and they will over the course of 162. Well, you take everyone you can get as a club, but if you're going to give them up on the other side, you hope they're solo and not otherwise.
Last night, the Mariners hit 4 home runs, all solo, for all 4 of their runs. And they hit 2 solo shots at Friday night. They lost that one 4-3. And no home runs for them Thursday night. So they have not hit a home run in this series with a man on base. 3-2. We were talking about Colin McHugh, that unusual game he had last night. He pitched 7 innings, gave up 4 runs, all on solo homers, and he won the game. That's pretty rare.
Yeah, I thought you had a great question that might have been off air, but as the Mariners players test their reactionary skills in the dugout, no doubt, how often does a guy give up 4 home runs and wind up staying on to pitch 7 innings and win a game? And I was even thinking about, was it the second inning when he gave up 3 home runs? How often does a guy get through that inning that sees him give up 3 home runs?
Exactly.
But Colin has earned that opportunity.
Well, we did some checking. Matt Latos was the last pitcher in the majors to give up 4 homers, go 7 innings, and win the game. Fly ball to center field. Marisnik back for the play. And in the 5th inning, after a leadoff walk, the next 3 are retired. The Astros remain in the lead 6-1.
In a two-game series, that's May 12th and 13th. May 13th is also $1 Hot Dog Wednesday at Minute Maid Park. For tickets, call 1-877-9-ASTROS, or you can visit Astros.com.
Well, that's one of those specially priced series, so check that out. Evan Gattis with the Astros leading 6-1 takes the first pitch from Jay Happ. It's ball one. Gattis accounted for the first 3 runs with a homer in the first inning. And then he reached base, bouncing into a fielder's choice play in the third, and later scored on the Chris Carter 2-run third inning homer. Six, 7-0 for Houston, 1-4-0 for Seattle. 1 ball and 1 strike. Now, the beauty of a rhythmical baseball season is that it unfolds over a period of 6 months. Many twists and turns along the way. But this 17-7 start has been really dynamic for the Astros. They've won with pitching in low-scoring games, and they have brought out the thunder, like we've seen last night and again today, to win more high-scoring contests. There's a fly ball to right field. Smith is back. 1 out.
I guess in a sense it kind of depends on perspective, though. When you get off to a fast start, as the Astros are on right now, for me, I'm thinking, come on, let's get on with the decision. We need to wrap this up right now. just stay hot. But it is a long season, and you have to keep playing.
Chris Carter ripped a 2-run homer last time after walking. There's strike 1 to Carter. Happ had not allowed any more than 4 runs in any of his 4 previous starts to the Astros. It's no balls, 2 strikes. Mariners are without Hisashi Iwakuma, who was their number 2 starter behind King Felix in their rotation. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Taijuan Walker started last night. He had done extremely well in all of his previous starts against the Astros, but he was tagged for 7 earned runs in 3 innings, with the Astros beating him 11-4 last night. Now 2 balls, 2 strikes.
You know, Brownie, that with Tuesday night's game, the Astros will have completed the first 6th of the season. That's not a typical poll where people take the look, but it's a nice chunk, and you get a nice sample of what the Astros can do.
Yeah, growing sample size coming your way on a nightly basis, and that's the beauty of it. Watching it unfold before your eyes every day.
Where's your point of, we've got a good idea? Is it a month and a half, 2 months? Where do you like?
At least 40 games. That's a fourth of a season. At least 40. How about you?
And that's typically right about that month and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you can get a really good idea, but I think you can also get fooled with a quarter of the season. You can get fooled with over half of the season sometimes. All-Star break. Think of the surprises.
Mood says Memorial Day,
which is what, end of May? Yeah. And I think that's about the 3rd of the season mark, right?
Yes.
But again, you can go to the All-Star break a lot of times and think you know what teams are the good ones and what teams are going to get there, what teams won't. Kansas City would have surprised you last year.
Yes. Strikeout number 4. Well, the Astros are slightly ahead of Kansas City. The Astros with the best record in the American League. Kansas City 16-8, New York 15-9 atop the AL East. Houston 17-7, 708 win percentage. And there's only one team in the majors better. St. Louis 17-6 for a 739.
Which team in Major League Baseball, as of waking up this morning, has provided the biggest positive surprise to the experts this year?
Well, I think this one.
The Astros. I was going to say the Astros or the Yankees.
Yeah, the Yankees have been far better than many people thought they would be.
I think a lot of people were forecasting doom and gloom for the Yanks.
You might be looking at one of them. Oh, you're looking out
that
there.
Phil Boudreau he's a pessimist anyway.
Struck him out. That's number 5. And after 5, it's 6-1 Astros.
Mobile game changer. That was George Springer's throw that came in the 3rd inning. Part of what would turn out to be a double play initially, ruled safe at home plate, but this perfect throw and the effort by Jason Castro on the other end resulted in a double play that ended the inning, kept the ball game at 3-1 rather than 3-2, and the inning continuing. And that was some kind of change in a game. Even the umpires had to change their viewpoint.
Now here's the 6th inning beginning with Justin Ruggiano batting. And the first pitch to him is ball 1. He took over in center field and in this leadoff spot in the lineup from Austin Jackson. 240 for Ruggiano, the former Tampa Bay Ray. He takes a look at that, and it's ball 2. 2 balls, no strikes to Justin Ruggiano. He's 3 for 11 on this road trip. 3-0 to him. He's a leadoff hitter in the previous series in one of the games at Texas. Picked up a couple of walks, scored a couple of runs in that one. Mariners 3-3 on this road trip. They swept the Rangers. They'll go on to meet the Angels next. 3-1. Felix Hernandez and Matt Shoemaker will square off tomorrow night in Anaheim. Hot shot. VR. 1 out.
Can the steady work with Jonathan VR help him defensively? For the moment, it sure looks good.
He was sound on that. He moved quickly to his right to get in front of it.
He's been using his feet well, too, to shorten distances when there's no need for a rushed throw. And we've said numerous times he's got plenty of arm strength to make it happen.
Well, the Astros really have locked it down defensively through these first several games of the year. Seth Smith is the batter. He's 1 for 2. He drives one to center field. Marisnik reaches out, can't snag it. It goes way up to the top of the wall. And here, rounding second and going for third, is Smith. The relay throw from Marwin Gonzalez gets by, and it rolls into the dugout, so he will score. Hernandez was trying to back up the play, but the throw skipped off to his right and wound up going out of play, allowing an extra base, and Smith scores. So it'll be a triple and an error.
You know, Marwin's going to take the error on this play. The Astros as a team are the ones that get hurt. But as I watched the play set up, I wondered if Jonathan Villar might not have been able to utilize his feet and adjust his positioning so that this throw doesn't go by. He got caught on that left field side of the bag and just did not adjust. And there was that, for a player, a bit of time to make the adjustment, I thought.
The error will be charged, as you said, to Marwin Gonzalez, his second of the year. It's a triple for Smith, his second. And Cano takes ball one. So now a 6-2 game. Two balls, no strikes.
And I know we were all thinking, okay, Jake, do it again.
Almost got there.
Put on those khakis and make your play.
Then the throw skipped. It bounced and then it deflected off Villar's glove past Hernandez. It appeared that Hernandez was in the right position for a pitcher backing up the play in foul territory, but that deflection off Villar's glove took it in another direction, more toward home plate, and it went right through that opening down into the Seattle dugout. 3-0 as Hernandez works the sixth. And now a 4-pitch walk to Cano brings up Cruz.
Keep in mind, Hernandez went 3-0 on Ruggiano before coming back to get him, so maybe command fleeting at the moment.
And Brent Strom has sensed that same issue as he comes to the mound with Cruz about to bat. Cruz blisters one out of here. It's a 6-4 game. And then Seager would be next. There's some stirring in the bullpen. Nobody throwing right now for Houston. 82 pitches for Hernandez. 47 of them have been strikes. We were talking before the game, and just to revisit this one more time, Ash, about the Astros trying to sustain what they've been doing. And I think the most important factor in that is the starting rotation.
I sure wouldn't argue with that. The thing is, though, it's a discussion that can go a lot of directions. And we've talked about why the Astros have been so good. We talk about pitching, starting and relieving. We talk about offense with the power and the speed. Defense, the steady play and the great plays that are being made. And, you know, there's an attitude that goes with all of it. So, yeah, I think you can make a good argument in any direction there.
1-0 to Cruz. Papers being blown around between the mound and home plate. Cruz stepped out.
But if you don't get good starting pitching, a lot of those other discussions don't really come into play.
Absolutely. Big swing there, and it's 1-1. We were looking at a story on ESPN's website before the game today. And according to that, 81% of the ground balls induced by the Astros pitching staff have been turned into outs. They're going. Here's the throw, and it's right on target. And he's out. Cano gunned down. And Jason Castro throws out his 4th of the season. That's out number 2.
Boy, that was a perfect throw. I don't think Robinson Cano thinks he should have been called out right there. And there would have been no other throw option that would get him. But that was exceptional. Watch this work on a pitch that was down. Come up firing and put it on the money. Right there. That would be a hard one to overturn. You can see why the glove, as you receive the ball as an infielder, needs to immediately go down. Don't reach.
It's super slow-mo showing you that tag by Altuve on a caught stealing from 2-4. 2 balls and a strike now on Cruz. Oh, what a big out that is for Hernandez. 2-2. But that's the highest percentage of ground balls turned into outs by a team in Major League Baseball to this point of the season. And then the lack of walks by the Astros pitching staff. They have the fewest walks in the American League. And a strikeout. That doesn't hurt either. So it's 1 run, 1 hit, 1 error, and nobody left. Middle of the 6th inning, the Astros lead it 6-2.
Package offers great matchups, including the Yankees, Tigers, and Dodgers. Be there for the anniversary of his 3,000th hit, Biggio Weekend, and more. And to purchase tickets, visit Astros.com/Biggio Hall of Fame. I should say HOF. Or call 1-877-9-ASTROS. I know Brownie was in there this morning when AJ was talking about how he loves the depth in his lineup. We've definitely seen that over this winning streak. He said the depth, though, allows him to leave Jake Mrazek and the way he's been playing kind of down in the lineup. And then Chris Carter, when he was struggling earlier, he was able to do some things with him. But he said there's not a lot of holes in this lineup where we can't score. We have stolen base potential, home run potential. He's really liking what he's getting from these guys.
Looking a lot better. There's a little pop-up out to Cano. Marisnick retired, 1 out, home 6th inning, 6-2 Astros. Well, Marisnick, for example, to illustrate your point, Julia, is hitting 7th today. He has 9 stolen bases. Altuve, leading off, has 9 steals. Springer, hitting 3rd, has 9 steals. So those stolen base threats are spaced at intervals throughout the order to try to maximize the damage that they can do on the bases. Castro, with ball 1 upstairs, has a double and a run scored today. He's 1 for 2, and then hopefully the thought being that if these guys can get on Steele, then the guys behind them can drive them in.
You know, that's really an intriguing point about spacing out the base stealers. I hadn't considered that. I know that usually you try to have a fast guy in your top spot and maybe in the 9 spot. But this is an intriguing bunch because you've got that group, 3-4 guys that can steal pretty much at will.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Well, you know, we make so much out of the home runs and talked about the high percentage of runs the Astros have scored on homers. And again, to that point today, the Astros have 5 of their 6 runs on long balls, but they're now 7th in the league in on base average, a respectable on base average pace. So they can utilize their abilities to run the bases in addition to waiting for the long ball. They're not a one-dimensional team right now in that regard.
Again, for me, I find myself going back to the old motto. We would like to build our team. This is not the Astros. This is everybody on power and speed. Of course, everybody talks about pitching and defense. Okay, go ahead and name away. And that's exactly what this team is doing.
6 strikeouts. And it's Jonathan Villar coming up. The Astros are 2nd in the American League in drawing walks. And they're 1st for their pitchers in preventing walks. That's a good combination. Villar has struck out and he's popped to 2nd. Just when you look at the statistics on the fundamental categories, they've done extremely well in avoiding beating themselves.
Well, I would say that probably historically, I don't have anything to back it up, teams that have been really powerful, that power their way through opponents, maybe are not that strong in that category you just mentioned. They may be able to score a bunch of runs but make a lot of mistakes along the way.
Yeah. Villar went fishing and it's 1-2 to Jonathan. Hot shot and laying out for it. Miller. He gets up, makes the throw. That is a brilliant play. Villar went in head first and he was gunned down by the Mariners shortstop on a brilliant effort. And that's now 7 in a row retired by Happ. The Astros lead it 6-2.
Evan Gattis doing a little launch early. Jake Marisnick has been in the act here in the series. No question about it. 10 home runs for the Astros in the series. That says the Mariners pitching probably hasn't been what they wanted. I don't know which way do you cast the blame, but for the moment, I think Astros hitters have been just dominant as can be. Jose Altuve kind of at will. What does the club need? That's what I'll come up with. And Valbuena and everybody, you just kind of get the drift. It's been a company effort by the Astros now as they've gone out and slammed away.
Strike one for Roberto Hernandez. Earned his first win as an Astro last time out. Beating San Diego with 6 solid innings. And leading now 6-2 as he throws that one to Kyle Seager. It's 1 ball, 1 strike. There is some bullpen action for the Astros. That lefty warming up. Looks like Kevin Chapman. Morrison and Zunino due to follow Seager. Line drive deflected by Hernandez's glove. VR can't get it out of his glove, and that's going to be an infield hit for Seager.
I think we have a good scenario in terms of Hernandez. I don't think he got hit. I think it was glove that got hit. Very nice that he could get the leather up there. And out was, I thought, presented. I thought VR, if he gets rid of this baseball, does get that first out of the inning. But damage averted there with that line drive right back at the head of Hernandez.
And athletic trainer Nathan Lucero and A.J. Hinch go out. It's not considered to be a visit to the mound because of the possibility of an injury. He reassures everybody he's fine to stay in. And it's an infield hit for Seager on a hard hit ball. Hit number 6 for the M's. Morrison is next.
By the way, major league pitchers are getting hit in the head. And there was a good piece on, might have been ESPN this morning, of the gear that one pitcher now has decided to start wearing, the headgear.
Fly ball out to left field. That's in for a hit. Rasmus over to try to cut it off. He backhands it, fires in towards second base. And it's first and third, nobody out as Morrison connects. So the Mariners are threatening. The Astros have some bullpen action going. 91 pitches have been thrown by Roberto Hernandez.
Yeah, I think this may be the end of the line. And it appears that Brent Strom coming out, either he's got to make it the end of the line or Hernandez faces one more hitter.
Zunino is 0 for 2.
Watch this job by Rasmus. The throw down back to the infield. I think a point is being made by A.J. Hinch and the staff to get the throw down so that the Astros don't give up the extra 90 feet. One of those little things that can add up, that can beat you on a given day. I see some improvement in a number of areas.
Well, with the lefty warming up in the bullpen and Zunino a right-hand batter, this may be the last hitter Hernandez is allowed to face. Now we see a different left-hander.
Well, it actually turned out to be Tony a moment ago, I believe.
That's Tony Sipman and not Chapman. Zunino is grounded out and he's popped to second. The shift is on for him. Altuve up the middle. And he fouls that one, strike one. These 2 spots in the rotation would seem to be critical for the Astros. Moving several weeks forward into play. How does Hernandez hold up in his spot in the rotation? And the one occupied by Samuel Deduno. Fly ball left field over toward the line, back toward the wall. Colby Rasmus. And Rasmus will have to play it off the wall. 1 run has scored. And here is both runners moving up now. It'll be second and third. Zunino with a double. And all of a sudden Seattle now is behind 6-3 with the potential tying run at the plate inactive.
It's nothing but a fist or fly ball. And maybe the wind blowing a bit in that direction aided this ball. But Zunino would tell you wholeheartedly, I didn't hit much of the ball at all.
A.J. Hinch is making a move to Tony Sipp, calling the lefty in for the bullpen. Ackley will be scheduled to hit next, but Ricky Weeks is coming out to the on-deck circle to pinch hit for Ackley. So Hernandez leads to a nice round of applause He could be in the winner's circle later this afternoon. It could be 2-2 by the end of the day. But Seattle stirring up trouble here in the 7th inning with 3 straight hits. Make it 6-3. 2 men on, nobody out. More in a moment.
The Yankee Clipper Joe DiMaggio marked his long-awaited debut in this day in history, brought to you by MD Anderson, May 3rd, 1938. He gets 3 hits, scores 3 in a Yankee win over St. Louis. He goes on to serve in the U.S. military from 1943 through 45 and is elected to the Hall of Fame in 1955. Joe DiMaggio. Check out his numbers someday if you want to just see what a great player looked like statistically.
Tony Sipp comes in, inheriting runners at second and third with nobody out, and a 3-run lead. Ricky Weeks is the pinch hitter here for Dustin Ackley. Sipp in 10 games, 2-0 with a 0.79 ERA. Tough to hit this year. Weeks takes a look at it. It's ball 1 to Ricky. He's a 182 hitter with 2 homers, 5 runs batted in. He hit a pinch home run a few days ago. 1 for 7 in pinch hitting roles. Former first-round draft choice of the Milwaukee Brewers. He was the second baseman then. He's been converted to outfielder now. Weeks 0 for 5 in this series. Out to center field, a long run for Marisnick, way back. That'll score 2. It'll go up on top of the hill. Weeks into second, 2-run double. And now it's a 1-run lead, 6-5 Houston. With Miller coming up next.
Well, Seattle put themselves in a spot where 6-5 was a genuine possibility. Now, with a man in scoring position, the tie is what the Astros have to avert here in the 7th inning. But holding this to a double rather than a triple, a great job by Marisnick and company. That's a big 90 feet.
Marisnick made the trip up the hill again. That's 4 straight hits in the inning. And 9 hits in the game for the Mariners. With Miller batting now, he has an RBI triple in 2 at-bats. VR in tight at third. Carter moving in at first. It's in the air, and it's to shallow left center field for Marisnick. Weeks will have to hold on that one. Out number 1.
And a costly out number 1 for Seattle. The out where you don't move the runner to third base. So mission accomplished there for Tony Sipp.
Hernandez in 6 innings plus allowed 8 hits, 5 runs. He walked 2 and had 1 strikeout. Ruggiano in his first at bat of the day grounded out in the 6th inning. He came in for the injured Austin Jackson. 93 pitches today for Hernandez. And He's in line for win number 2 of the year, but several outs remaining in this game. Of the 93 pitches for Roberto, 55 were strikes. Swing by Ruggiano, and there's strike 1 to the 33-year-old from Austin, Texas. He went to Blinn College and Texas A&M. Drafted by the Dodgers in 04, they traded him to Tampa Bay in 06. Spent part of spring training anyway with the Astros in 2012 before they dealt him to Miami. 1-1 to Ruggiano. Last year he played with the Cubs. Lefty hitting Seth Smith is on deck, and then Cano would follow. In for a strike 2.
Well, he's got a good changeup. Herky jerky and fidgety on the hill, and that may aid him in that changeup.
Yeah, kind of jumps at the hitter. Tony's 31 from Mississippi. Looks back at Weeks. In the dirt, Weeks takes off. Here's Castro's throw, and he's hit. Oh, it gets by Villar, and he will score the tying run. Villar fails to catch the throw. They would have had Weeks hung out to dry, and instead it's a 6-6 tie.
Inexplicable is all I can say. And damaging. Look, the out is presented. Nice job by Castro. Good throw, not the right side of the bag, but I don't know. Yeah, generally speaking, I guess the comment would be, I don't know how a major league third baseman misses that throw.
Villar is charged with the error. His 4th error of the year. He's not had that many chances. 2-2 to Ruggiano. And he struck him out. 2 outs.
Now, Jason Castro did all he could to get what would have been a very big second out and erase the base runner.
Bad decision by Weeks to take off, but he gets by with it and he scores the tying run. And the infield shifts around on Smith. Carson Smith, a right-handed reliever, is warming up for Seattle. The Mariners have come all the way back from a 5-1 deficit, 6-1 deficit, to tie the game. So now they have life as they try to avoid a 4-game series sweep, and that's ball 1. Sip missing there, falls behind. 2 balls, no strikes. Well, that challenge play back in the 3rd inning by A.J. Hinch is looking awfully big in this one right now. On a play at the plate.
That it is, but how about the other challenge of Altuve at third base? Had Altuve been called safe, which I thought clearly the replay showed he would have been there with 1 out. And, of course, then Springer lined one to first base, so I don't know how that all would have played out.
Right. Could have been an inning-ending double play. In for a strike, and it's 3-1. The Astros have not lost a game in which they scored first. (12-0) when scoring first. They had 3 runs in the first. High Out to right center field. Wide open space is George Springer diving. That's off the wall. Smith is into second with a double, and the damage continues here off the Mariners' bats. That's their 5th hit of the inning. 3 of them doubles.
I'm not sure anybody has the wheels to close the gap quite like George Springer, and he almost closed the gap all the way on this drive. Watch him gain ground in the end. Very nice hitting by Seth Smith. Look at George. He's got the burners on at this point now. Looked like he actually stopped looking at the baseball, but man, was he picking up ground.
10 hits for the Mariners, and it's Cano batting now. Cano's 0 for 2 with a walk. Nelson Cruz is on deck. Pat Neshek is warming up for Houston. And tied ball 1, so with Cano the 8th Mariner to bat in the inning, it would appear that Sip might be facing his last man. With Cruz to be next, whether it's here in the 7th or in the 8th.
Keep in mind, Smith would not have come to the plate had the Astros gotten that out on the bases there.
1 ball, 1 strike on Cano. The inning started with a line drive hit. Seager lining it off Roberto Hernandez's glove. That turned out to be an infield hit. And Morrison followed with a single. Zunino RBI double. Weeks 2-run double, scoring on the error by VR. 2 outs later, Smith with a double. Now 2-1 on Cano. Zip had not allowed a run since the game at Texas, April 11th. It was 8 scoreless appearances in a row for Tony coming into this game. That's a strike, and that makes it 2-2. Cano's been quite an RBI man over his career, with more than 900 runs batted in for Robbie. He's won 5 Silver Slugger awards as the best hitting second baseman in his league. Signed a 10-year, $240 million free agent deal to join the Mariners last year. That's tap foul. He has hit 300 or better for 6 years in a row. The Indians outslugged the Blue Jays today in Cleveland, winning at 10-7. Nationals beat the Mets 1-0. Miss, and he struck him out on a foul tip held by Castro, but a big 7th inning gives Seattle life with a tie ball game. After 4-run score on 5 hits with an error and a man left, it's now 6-6 in the 7th. God Bless America comes your way next from Minute Maid Park.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, our Sunday afternoon tradition here at Minute Maid Park continues today as we welcome some servicemen and women who have just returned from active duty, along with 13-year-old Nicholas Connors. We invite you all to join us and Nicholas as we honor our great nation while thanking and saluting those who protect our freedom around the world every day with the singing of God Bless America.
To
MLB.tv Premium. The #1 live streaming sports service is celebrating 13 years. Watch every out-of-market game live or on demand in true HD on over 400 mobile and connected devices. Real-time highlights, live look-ins, pitch tracking, widget, and more. Every night on every device. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.tv for details. Void where prohibited.
6-6 ball game. Carson Smith is in the game. His ERA is 0 for his career. 10 innings this year, over 11 games. Jose Altuve is 0 for 2 with an intentional walk today. And there's strike one. Jay Happ getting off the hook with 6 innings of work, allowing 7 hits, 6 runs, walking 3, fanning 6, throwing 94 pitches, and getting a no decision today in a 6-6 affair. Altuve chased that one, and it's 0-2. Carson Smith pitched in a couple of the games against the Astros in Seattle. 1 hitless inning in each of those. He's from Dallas, went to Grayson County College and Texas State. Altuve struck out, and that's about as bad as he looked at the plate all year.
Those last 2 pitches must have been pure foul, because he does not take that kind of swing. Yeah. Body's going one way, and he's trying to keep the bat going the other.
Marwin Gonzalez has a couple of hits. He drove in a 4th inning run with one of those, a single. He's 2 for 3. Cruz, Seager, and Morrison are due up in the 8th for the Mariners. They got 4 in the top of the 7th to tie it at 6. Strike to Gonzalez. George Springer's on deck. Showing bunt. Gonzalez takes the pitch. It's 1-1. Carson Smith was an 8th round pick of the Mariners in 2011. Last year he pitched in 9 games with an ERA of 0, so that's quite a nice string of scoreless ball to open his career. Bunted up the first base line, but foul. 1-2. 20 career appearances in the big leagues without allowing a single run, covering 18 in the 3rd innings for Carson Smith. That is a Seattle club record for a career.
I think at the moment Altuve might vote him for the All-Star squad.
Boy. Yeah, he opened impressively against a top hitter in baseball. Grounded foul. Still a 1-2 count. First baseman Morrison really guarding the line in a tie game. He's almost camped on first base. On the line anyway, behind the bag.
I agree with that philosophy. For me, staying where a guy typically hits the ball is one thing. Preventing the double or triple is another, and late in the ball game you cannot have the latter happen.
Marwin started to swing, and on appeal he did go. He strikes out. The call was made by Ron Culpa, the 3rd base umpire, for 2 outs. George Springer has a double and a walk today.
Easy to call that one. The last at bat, 4th inning for George Springer, was really impressive as he lined out to first base, and again maybe a bit of a learning opportunity.
Springer lined to first his last time up.
He had already doubled down the right field side, and then that line drive.
In the dirt. 1-1 to George. Kansas City's trailing Detroit 6-2. They're in the bottom of the 8th at KC. Tigers regrouped after losing the first couple in that series. 2 balls, 1 strike. Kansas City has leapfrogged ahead of Detroit in recent days, but has only a half-game lead in the AL Central on the Tigers. strike. Makes it 2-2 to Springer with Gaddis on deck.
If I were looking for a pitch that Springer might have hit about 500 feet right there, that could have been it. A slider that stayed on the inner third.
Bouncer back to Smith. He has a 1-2-3 seventh, and it's 6-6 going to the 8th.
Minute Maid Park. Every Friday night home game is followed by the best fireworks show in town, presented by Marathon Oil Company. The next Friday night fireworks is next Friday, May 15th, when the Astros take on the Blue Jays. For more info, visit astros.com/fireworks or call 1-877-9-ASTROS. Guys.
Thank you, Julia. Friday night always big here at Minute Maid Park. We always look forward to those evenings. Lots of youngsters will be there on that Friday night, too, as they are today, hoping for a big Houston rally. But first, it's the top of the 8th inning, and Pat Neshek coming in to try to keep Seattle at bay. Neshek, the veteran right-hander, will be facing Nelson Cruz to lead it off. Then Seager and Morrison are due to bat. Cruz is 1 for 3. He fouls that one, strike one. Tony Sipp in one inning allowed 2 hits, 1 run with no walks. He struck out 2. Joe Thatcher's working in the pen now for the Astros. Houston will have Gaddis, Carter, and Rasmus due up in the bottom of the 8th.
That foul tip took a bite out of Jason Castro. Those hurt, and you could tell he was really dealing with it for a moment. By the way, Pat Neshek, the numbers would say that the long ball has been the big concern so far this year. 3 of them allowed in 9 1/3 innings. Ow. That ow for Jason Castro.
Foul ball by Cruz. No balls, 2 strikes to Nelson. Nelson, when he plays right field, has much better numbers than when he DHs this year.
Yeah, you say, well, there's a pad there. Take a look at the pad. It's not much.
No. The Roberto Hernandez pitching line of 6 innings, 8 hits, 5 runs includes 4 earned runs with 2 walks, 1 strikeout. In tight. 1-2 to Nelly Cruz. As a right fielder, he's hitting .407 with 11 homers, 21 runs batted in. As a DH, .250, 2 homers, 4 runs batted in 9 starts at DH. Last year he had just about equal production, DHing and playing the field.
So did I just hear he's not qualified to be a DH?
No. But this time Neshek does a number on him and strikes him out. It's an awfully big out in a tie game, one in which the Astros had a 6-1 lead going to the 6th.
Yeah, so if the long ball has been the challenge for Neshek so far this year, Nelson Cruz is absolutely the guy you don't want at the plate. Slips the heater right on by.
That's one big out. Now Kyle Seager is 1 for 3. He started the tying rally in the 7th inning with that line drive single off Roberto Hernandez's glove. Strike 1 for Neshek. Before today, the Astros had allowed only 6 unearned runs all season. Gave up 1 in the 6th inning today. One ball, 1 strike. We're kind of questioning another unearned run scoring. 1 and 2. The one involving Weeks, he should have been out at third base on that throw from BR, and he wound up scoring. So that run, in our opinion, should be unearned. But one website is crediting him with an earned run, so we'll figure it all out.
How many unearned runs are you showing on that website?
1 for the day for the Astros.
I've got another site that has 2.
Oh, that should be correct, yes, because the throw was down to VR. They should have had Weeks out. There was an error charged to VR. Weeks wound up scoring, so that should be a second unearned run.
Yeah, when you've got a base runner stopped and acknowledging that he's in a rundown between second and third, there's no way you could otherwise say he shouldn't be out, I don't think.
Right, so that run was charged to SIP, so it should be unearned. Ground ball foul. Still 1 and 2. Minnesota's leading the White Sox 4-0 Twins. Bottom of the 5th inning. They're playing at Target Field today. Mike Pelfrey got the start, but he only lasted 3 1/3. 2 balls, 2 strikes. We have had some kind of gorgeous weather this week in Houston. Foul back. Still 2 and 2. The Texas Rangers come in to start a brand new series tomorrow night. 3 night games the next 3 nights starting at 7:10. Dallas Keuchel and Ross Detweiler tomorrow night in a matchup of lefties. Keuchel 3-0 with a league best ERA of 0.73. Detweiler 0-3 with an 8.66. Seager looks at ball 3, and it's a full count to Seager. Tuesday night at Scott Feldman and Wandy Rodriguez, former Astro, coming back to pitch in a Ranger uniform. So today, Happ, a lefty, followed by 2 more lefties against the Astros, giving them 3 in a row. And then they'll face a right-hander, Colby Lewis, against San Diego. At strike 3 instead of ball 4, Seager tossed the bat thinking it was a walk, but instead it's out number 2.
I didn't feel like Seager helped himself on the previous pitches. He walked across home plate as if heading toward the third base dugout, but there you can see it in that strike zone box. This pitch finds it. Hitters are going to have to figure out high strikes and low strikes are now part of the equation.
Now with 2 outs, it's Logan Morrison. Morrison's 1 for 2 with a walk. This one to left field, pushes Rasmus back. For out number 3, good work by Neshek to keep it tied 6-6 in the 8th.
VR, unfortunately, involved in this play. As the pitch was in the dirt, key man at second base. Ricky Weeks was that man. He took off toward third, and Jason Castro made the alert play and good throw to third base. VR unable to come up with it, and that is the tying run right now. Otherwise, 6-5 Astros on top.
10 straight Astros have been retired. Jay Happ got the last 7, and Smith got 3 in a row in the 7th inning. And now it's Evan Gattis in the home 8. Carson Smith still on the mound. Here's strike 1. Lefty Charlie Furbush is warming up in the bullpen for Seattle. Gattis ripped a 3-run homer in the first. He's 1 for 3. Julio Teheran and the Braves shut out the Reds in Atlanta 5-0, beating Johnny Cueto. Line shot left field. That one's headed for the seats. That's a go-ahead homer. Gattis has done it again with number 6. He is keeping them occupied, and the Landry's Crawford boxes with souvenir after souvenir. That's 5 home runs in 6 games for Evan Gattis.
I feel slightly inclined to file a complaint against Evan Gattis and his line drive home runs that are just getting out to the first row. But I'll go ahead and I'll accept what he provides here. Wow. This guy is just really coming on with the club. And talk about making a contribution.
Carter takes ball 1, so that's the first run Smith has ever allowed in his major league career. Gattis is on a rampage. 1-1. Well, the Astros knew they were trading for a pull hitter when they made the deal with Atlanta for Gattis. People speculated, well, how much will the Landry's Crawford boxes help him in Houston? We're seeing it. Not that these are cheapies, you understand, because that line drive would have carried for a while. But is it high enough to reach the seats? That's always the question on a hard line drive like that one. Foul ball.
Yeah, I don't know that I would venture a guess on that, but that, like you say, that line drive's going to carry.
The Astros have 3 more homers in this game. So 6 for the year for Gattis. Carter looks at it. It's strike 3.
And by the way, Bronny, the 6 home runs tie Gattis with Luis Valbuena now for the club leadership.
That's right. Now Lloyd McClendon comes to the mound. Rasmus, a left-hand batter, due up next. He's got the lefty Furbush in the bullpen. And he will make the change right here. Carson Smith coming out of this game after 1 1/3 innings, giving up 1 hit, 1 run with no walks, 3 strikeouts. It was a club record setting start to his major league career for consecutive scoreless innings, but it ended when Gattis went deep to give the Astros a 7-6 lead in the 8th inning. More in a moment. little dish of ice cream along the way to help enjoy it. But the Astros have reclaimed the lead now after blowing a 6-1 lead. Seattle getting 1 in the 6th, 4 in the 7th, while the Astros were being set down 10 in a row until the ball just exploded off Evan Gattis's bat. His second home run of the day gives the Astros the lead. And here's Charlie Furbush, 0-1 with a 3.18 ERA to face Colby Rasmus. Rasmus 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts against the lefty Jay Happ. Foul for strike one with Jake Marisnick on deck.
Colby got a pretty good first pitch fastball to handle right there, but this is one of those left-handers that can make life tough on the left-hand hitter.
Furbush, 29 years old, from South Portland, Maine. Went to LSU. Drafted by Detroit in 07 in the 4th round. In tight. 1-1 to Rasmus. Zunino, Weeks, and Miller are due up in the Seattle 9th, the 7, 8, 9 hitters. Well, we have seen just energetic crowds throughout this series as the Astros have returned home from their best ever 9-game road trip, going 8-1. The energy really building in this ballpark, and it's there right now as the Astros hope to make this their 10th straight win. Fly ball goes up the right field line, headed for the seats, foul. 2-2 to Rasmus.
Got a fastball left in and maybe a chance to turn one around.
Astros tagged Furbush with a loss in Seattle on April 21st. He didn't get anybody out in that game. Missing there. He goes to a 3-2 count on Rasmus. In that Nationals 1-0 win over the Mets, it was Doug Fister's second win of the year, who beat Dylan G. And Drew Storen got his 7th save. Inside ball 4. Rasmus draws a walk. 4th walk for Mariner pitching today. Jake Marisnick is 1 for 3. He took his hitting streak to 11 games with a first inning single. Jason Castro comes out to the on deck circle. In the air to right field, coming over toward the line, Seth Smith. 2 down. And now it's Castro, who doubled and scored in the 4th. Jason 1 for 3 today. Luke Gregerson, the Astros closer, has been throwing in the bullpen. Pat Neshek had a 1-2-3-8. Jonathan Villar's on deck. Runner goes. Here's the throw to first. And Logan Morrison to Brad Miller. On a caught stealing, Colby Rasmus gunned down. 1-3-6 to end it in the 8th with the Gattis home run, giving the Astros the lead just as he did in the first inning with a 3-run shot. He does it again in the 8th with a solo. 7-6 Houston, moving to the 9th. Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. It's been a full day of baseball here. Now, how's it going to go in the ninth inning for Luke Gregerson? That's the question that will be answered very soon. 7-6, the Astros lead it as Gregerson tunes it up for the ninth, shooting for save number 6 of the year. He's 2-0 with an ERA of 3. 5 saves in 6 opportunities, and he got a save despite allowing 2 homers Friday night. The Astros won it 4-3. Cruz and Morrison went deep to narrow the gap, but he nailed down the final 2 outs for the 4-3 win and got his 5th save.
Yeah, forget all about Friday night, and that's why a lot of people say if you're going to be a good closer, learn to forget quickly. Have a short memory.
Now it's Mike Zunino, who doubled in a run in that 7th inning 4-run rally. Leading it off, he's 1 for 3. Ricky Weeks on deck. Infield shifted around. Ball 1 from Gregerson. Had Neshek with a 1-2-3 8th inning. Struck out 2. Gregerson got a save in Seattle April 20th in a 7-5 win. He won the game here Friday night and got the save, or won the game Thursday night, got the save Friday night. So pitching 3 times in a 4-game series. Fly ball at the right field line, hit deep toward the corner. Springer on the run. That ball is foul. Zunino with close to an extra base hit, just misses. 1-1.
One of the dangers defensively when you have guys kind of shifting in positions is that you open up the possibilities to the extra base hit, and you don't want one of those right now.
Colby Rasmus is well over into left center. Zunino swings, and it's 1-2 as Gregerson snaps off a slider. In the dirt, 2 balls, 2 strikes. 13 appearances for Luke Gregerson, leading the club. The Astros have not lost in any of his previous 12 appearances with them this season. He gets a strikeout. When he got the blown save in Oakland, they regrouped to win the game. Strikeout number 6 for Houston pitching.
Yeah, that was that strong outing by Dallas Keuchel. He got nothing to show for it, and Gregerson came on and allowed the runs to tie the ball game. Wound up with the W.
They won it 5-4 in the 11th inning. Ricky Weeks has come off the bench in this game and delivered a big 2-run double in the 7th inning. Then he came around to score the tying run on an error. He was pinch hitting for Dustin Ackler. Weeks takes a look at ball 1. Brad Miller on deck. It's a 1-ball, 1-strike count. So this stretch of 12 games in which Gregerson has pitched and the Astros have won them all, the longest start of the season streak for the club since Donnie Wall in '96. They won his first 10 appearances. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Gregerson usually makes it quick work. Does not throw a lot of pitches. He threw 20 pitches here Friday night when he gave up the 2 homers. That's more than he normally would go with in 1 inning.
Must be on with that slider down and away.
Inside there, and it's a 2-ball, 2-strike count.
And with that being the case, you have to be able to work the fastball in, keep the hitter honest.
Astros 5-1 in 1-run games this season. Now it's a full count on Weeks. They beat the Mariners twice in one-run games, Thursday and Friday night. They also took a one-run affair from they lost a one-run affair in Seattle. And Marlon Gonzalez backs up at short. In tight, and Weeks has a one-out walk. Miller will bat. Miller tripled in a run in the third. He's 1 for 3. And we get a pinch runner at first.
Trying to guess along with the hitter and come right back in with the heater. But that one-out walk, not exactly the way Gregerson or others with the Astros would have liked to have seen that work out.
Pinch runner is Willie Bloomquist. He is 1 for 1 in stolen bases. That leaves only one bench player left for Lloyd McClendon. He's the backup catcher, Jesus Sucre. Strike to Miller. Gregerson, pitcher number 4 to work for the Astros today. Trying to nail down win number 10 in a row for Houston. This one may have hit the umpires. It hit the dirt. Castro was scrambling for it. It's 1-1.
Thank you very much, because that 90 feet is a portion of the real estate here you do not want to give up right here.
Well, the Astros have had some breaks along the way, as most teams with long winning streaks do.
Keep fortune on your side. Pretty good player.
Justin Ruggiano's on deck with Altuve and Gonzalez at double play depth. Little roller goes foul. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Miller. Astros relievers 7-1 with a 2.21 ERA, third lowest in the American League. Fernando Rodney is going up in the bullpen for Seattle as the Mariners grab the lead. Houston has 8 saves and 11 opportunities in the early going for the relievers. Two balls, 2 strikes now to Miller. Evan Gattis hit a 3-run homer in the first off Jay Happ. Houston was off and running. Chris Carter smoked a 2-run shot in the third. Foul back. But then Seattle played catch up with 1 in the 6th, 4 in the 7th inning to tie it. And a third long ball of the day. Gattis' second gave the Astros this current 7-6 lead. They've been out hit by Seattle 10-8. Houston has made both errors in the game. Each club has stranded 3. Ground ball, Altuve with the toss. Marlon Gonzalez on to first. That's a game-ending double play. Win number 10 in a row for the Houston Astros. Their longest winning streak since 04 when they had a 12-game streak. They are 18-7 to open the season in 2015. Rarefied air for the Astros from where they have come.
Oh, is that ground ball for the double play a beautiful thing when you need it? That's the way, we all like it. And look at the quick release by Altuve to set it up.
Third double play of the game for the Astros. This was one of their worst days in the field, with the 2 errors they made, allowing a couple of unearned runs, but they did make the double plays. And A.J. Hinch with that challenge call back in the 3rd inning, overturning a run that had been allowed to score for Seattle. The Astros take that run away with the challenge, and they win it by 1. Final score 7-6 Houston.